Assalamu alaikum friends and welcome back to the course. In this video, we are going to see how we can split a function to make it much readable. Let's get started. So before that, I noticed last time that there is this technical setting, this number of iteration, like this number is required to compute the times, right? So here for this one, if you see, it's used only in one place. That's the first thing. And as you can see, it is private. It means no one is setting it from the outside. Now, if you check the file here, like I'm checking the original code, and then I can see that the number of iteration was private also, and it's used here, right? There is set number of iteration here, so it doesn't matter. It's 1. Still, we are getting that number, and there is get and private set. So actually, we don't need this at all. So you can delete it like that. It is set to 1, and then we will have an error here. So for I to 1, it means we can call this function directly. Always, you have the test, run your test. Here we have two comments that we didn't delete because it describes something. It's saying here giving Julian date, but there is no Julian date mentioned, so that's a problem. Also, there is this default time. We're going to extract this into some kind of constant that describing the default times. Usually we start with default time and then it start rounding it to the right period times, okay? Our tests are passing. Now we need to go here to this sun position. Now here are some comments on this function. Like there are some links describing what we are doing here because there are a lot of numbers that we don't understand. Even myself, I don't understand. Here we have this two comments. We can delete them. We don't need them here. And then at the end of the day, what we are doing, we are calculating the sum position given some kind of GD. Here the GD, I think it's Julian date. I don't have any clues, right? Even when I check these two links, they are not working. So that might be a little bit difficult to understand what we are doing, but at least since we have the test, we can make sure we are not breaking anything. The main concern for me for this function is that it's returning two things, and then we have extra function that will do the calculation for us. So instead of having such a thing, we can maybe declare here a new custom object called sun calculation that will give us equation of time and also declination, or we can split this function into two functions that will do the work for us. So here's what I can do. I can copy this code and paste it here directly. So for sun declination, it means you are returning D. Let me just put D here. And for this one, I'm returning this variable. We don't have any errors. Let's run the test to check if everything's working fine. Awesome. Now guess what? I can delete this function. I know we do have duplication. I'll be able to deal with it. Exactly here we have duplication. But right now, since at this moment we need D, we don't need this sun position array. So we don't need these two things. We don't need this one. We don't need this one. We don't need this one. All right, we need the D here. So D is the declination. I can align it like that. And we have extra parameters. There is this E. I don't know about it. This is GD, as I told you. Like the GD problem here is that if you go to the calling of the sun declination, we're going to see it is Julian date. Okay, so it's Julian date as we expected. So we can rename it to Julian date, right? And then we have fixing the angle of the G, Q, and L. Let me just rename it to L, like that. And then we have an E. Then we are calculating this. We're going to do the same thing here. We don't need that. We don't need that. Equation of time. Can rename it. And then we can, of course, align it. Here we have array. We don't need that D here, right? Still, we need that E in order to calculate array. I don't know what this array means. Usually, we could check how usually they calculate the equation of time. We use the variable L, we use the variable Q, we use G and T. All right, there is some duplication until the L variable, which is like that. So we can extract it into one function that calculates this parameter for us. So here we can delete those comments. They don't mean anything right now. And then I can rename this to Julian date, like the following. And I believe there are a lot of numbers here that we don't understand. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to extract these two functions into top level function that consider the following. I want to group something related to sun calculation, for example. Since I believe these two things are from sun calculation, let me delete that. All right, there is this fix our range, so we need it. Okay, this is private. Let me delete the private part here. We need that fix our range. If I check this fix our range, it is fixing the range of the hour. It makes sense. So it is making it between 0 and 24, I think. So where it is used in many places, right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring that fix our range here, and then I need to think of a better name of this sun calculation. here's the thing. I'm going to copy this function and paste it here. And it's not private. And then I have problems here. Well, I don't have problems, it's fixed. Then I need to bring also that function. We do have a function here that is fixed angle. I'm going to put it here in the sun calculation. So fixers are belonging also here, right? So with this in mind, we took some of the responsibility that was calculating things here. Then we do have this function that's called calculate Julian date, right? This calculate Julian date is required here in the Julian date. We are going to do some refactoring that refactors actions to calculation in this kind of functions. Like we want some kind of pure function here. We don't need something that alters the state. It's altering a kind of state here, so we need to pass those variables. We're going to talk about that in later videos, of course. So even this calculate Julian date can belong also to that sun calculations. It's kind of calculations here. We are doing some kind of calculation. I can paste it here, and then I can delete that private part. And now everything is, I think, is pretty fine here. Awesome. Now we need to bring a new name to this sun calculation. But now we have some duplication here. The easiest way to do this duplication, like I think it's exactly this body, right? So the easiest way to do that is that we create another function that will return us this variables altogether. So we can create it like following, extract this function, and you are returning a triple. Awesome. It detected automatically that we need that triple here. Yeah, please. So we know that we need that triple. And here we are using that triple to calculate other stuff. Here we have the variable of array. I mean, we shouldn't do that. Maybe we could do something like the following here instead, right? And call this array directly like that. I know this brings some complexity, maybe. Yeah, but I think this is fine. Now this triple is returning us some parameters. Let's call them sun params, like that. And they are denoting Q, L, and E. We could create custom object, but since this is private to this scope, I think it is fine. We could live with it. And then for this part, let me just do the same thing. Let me just delete everything here. What do we need? We need the E, right? So we can get the E and the L. So we don't need that part. We can rename it like that. So as you can see, with one simple function, was able to remove some duplication. You could give it more domain meaning since it is related to some kind of sun parameter calculation. You can call it calculate sun params. So this is triple of 3 different objects. So we are calculating it like the following. So I think this is fine from this side. Still, we could have better name for this sun calculation. And also to make this code much readable, we need to know what is this things exactly, the D, G, Q, so that whenever we want to fix that in the future, let's say we have domain expert, we should understand what is that. Like the problem here is lack of understanding the domain issues related to sun calculations. So right now we did a great job there, like that's a good thing. Now we are going to convert the calculation method and make it some kind of an object or an enum that will contain some parameters regarding the method parameters. That's it for this video. Thanks a lot and see you in the next video.